Folks, it's Fernando doing our video for the More Survivalists, and today we're going to be looking at 10 must-have items when putting together a knife survival kit like the one I have here. Now, before I get started, let me be completely honest. Chances of you needing this compared to needing this other stuff that I talk about all the time is there's really no comparison. A gun for self-defense, money for cash, your credit card for emergencies, your cell phone for communication, for the applications that it have, even a folding knife. These are all things that are far more likely to be of use, to come in handy during an emergency or extreme situation than a wilderness survival knife kit, right? Having said all that, there is a place definitely for it. The survival knife is a quintessential survival tool. We've been using it for thousands of years since we first picked up a rock, smashed it against another, and use it as a sharp edge to cut stuff. It's been our survival tool. Now, the idea of the survival knife kit, meaning a survival knife with a dedicated kit within it, either in the sheath or in a hollow handle, like in the case of the Jungle King one, and this would be the two. This has been around for quite some time, mostly popularized since the 80s, 90s, started with the Rambo movie, and this would be the first commercially successful one, the Jungle King 1 and 2. These would be the ones that made it, and it's actually still in use in the military in different parts of the world and does quite well. This one has taken a beating and is still holding on perfectly well. Now, let's get to it, what we look at in terms of putting together our survival knife kit. Number one would be definitely the knife itself, the knife and the sheath it comes in. Now, in this case, I'm using my Soldier Dog 8, which is a fantastic blade. I did a video review of this. This is the Psycho Soldier Dog 8. It's from it's an Infi blade steel, Psycho scrapyard knife company. It's a Bussy company. I had a little bit of a criticism regarding the edge that it came with. Now, after sharpening it myself, this is a fantastic knife. It has a very sound blade geometry, works very well as a survival knife, one of the best steels you could possibly have, a comfortable handle with rust spring C, really some of the best stuff you can have. Now, that doesn't mean you have to spend this kind of money with for a survival knife. You could go something like this, the Schrade. This is the SCH F38. This is a knife that I also have reviewed. $40 knife with the sheath. In my case, I had to buy my sheath separately. This is a Spec Ops brand sheath, but for $30-40, usually you find it in Amazon. I'm going to be leaving the link for this one below because it's such a great knife, and you're not going to be disappointed with it. It's a full tang, very thick blade. It's a sharpened pry bar type of knife, which some people turn their nose against. They just don't like it. It has taken a beating, and I replaced the scales with some by my own broke the screw there. But you have a very good survival knife and with a sheath, so that's being taken care of in terms of the knife that you have. Number two would be a flashlight, and now we're looking at the actual content. Let me show you a little bit closer at the actual content of the kit itself. So the first thing, when you open this, you have a little flashlight. This is one of these cheap, common button cell flashlights. Yes, it's not some of the best flashlights available. Now, it's very compact. It has a battery that lasts pretty much forever in a kit like this, which may go unused for God knows how long, years even. But even years down the road, this little cell, it's not going to be leaking. It's not going to be blowing up on you or anything like that. It's going to be having some juice years later, and that's the point. Some light is always better than no light at all. So very compact, reliable, solid, and that's the point. A little bit of thread here to make it visible. A little tip there, with some of these smaller pieces of kit, you want to have something that if you drop it in tall grass, sand, you have something that's more visible. There's actually reflective material in there, so that is it for our flashlights. Number three would be are water containers. This is something you don't see often in some of these videos regarding survival kits and knives and that sort of thing, but this is a big deal. Water is one of your most important items for survival, and if we're looking at a wilderness survival environment where you're likely to use this sort of stuff, again, not the most common thing, but if you're hiking, backpacking, working in the outdoors, and you find yourself in that situation, a water container is key, because without water, you're not going to be lasting long. 3 being 2, 2 being 1, 1 being none, I have 2 of these, very compact. These are breastfeeding water milk bags. You find these in stores for nothing, 50 or 100 in a box for just a couple of dollars. And they're very well made. They're very strong, again intended for breastfeeding milk, and they're actually sterilized on the inside. So when you rip this open, you have a sterilized water container. You can even cut this open for a burn wound or something like that, so as to keep it, safe. Number 3, water containers. We're now looking at the actual bag in here, and we have this little bag with a few things in there. Number 4 would be having a compass. When disoriented, when you're not sure where you're going and you cannot rely on other methods, a small button compass should be in your survival kit. Okay. Number 5 would be water purification tablets. We have our water bags, but we need a way of making that water safe for drinking. And we have 4 of those in here. Now each of these works for 1 liter of water, so half for each one of these bags. We have 4 liters of water safe to drink. Number 6, fire starting kit, or means of starting fire. You already see matches here. So again, for these important things, I have 2. So I have matches and I have an actual fire steel. This is a fire steel I put together myself, just an empty 22 and a piece of saw protected there with tape so as to not rip the bag or some of the other components. And this would be one, and the other one is matches. These are Vesta matches. These are strike anywhere matches. These are my favorite matches. I find them to work very well. Think of it in terms of being wounded, not having enough time, freezing yourself to death. You have instead of striking a spark and then the actual flame, you go straight with matches. That's kind of important, guys. So that would be number 6, a fire starting kit or means of starting fires. Folks, this could be something else. If you have a different kind of kit, if you have a bigger sheath or bigger pocket here, maybe you have a small big lighter. So whatever it is that you work, these are the components you should want to have in one of these kits, but these are not the only ones. You have some other variations. Number 7 would be a first aid kit. Now with the limited space that I have here, I couldn't do a lot, but I have a couple band-aids, bigger ones, and one of these big strips, which would allow you to patch somewhat of a large wound, a bigger wound. So it's not ideal, it's not great, but you have these and a couple ibuprofen 600 milligram pills for pain and that sort of thing. Remember to write down the expiration date like I did, reinforce it a little bit with a tape so as to make sure it doesn't rip open. So a couple of these, and this is all I have in terms of first aid. But you know what, for small cuts, even a little bit of larger ones, a very strong headache or some strong pain after breaking your leg falling from God knows where, this would be fantastic to have. Okay, number 8 is cordage, and in terms of cordage, I have a little bit of cord here, some very strong thread. This is used for sewing boots, and I use it for my leather sheaths. So this is strong thread, and thread and cordage is one of the toughest things to improvise in bushcrafting. So having something like this is actually quite nice. You can use it for repairs, you can use it for a fishing line, which we're going to be looking into a second. But yes, thread, cordage for repairing stuff or making other tools, it's pretty important. So that's what I have here. And you also have some 550 paracord here in the knife itself. Number 9 would be the fishing kit, and I have it here in this same bag with the matches. So it's going to be depending on, and yes, it comes with a braided thread, which could also be used for other things. But a braided fishing line is pretty nice because it's tougher than some of the cheaper stuff, those monofilaments that you find in some kits. This is good stuff. It's going to be lasting for quite some time. A few fishing hooks, smaller ones, medium ones. It really depends on the environment you're in, if you need larger ones or not. In general, smaller fishing hooks and medium-sized fishing hooks are going to be allowing you to fish in, you know, some of the less ideal places where maybe you have a small stream, some small fish. This is it, but it's going to be depending on where you are and the places where you're likely to need this stuff. And a couple of sinkers there as well. And finally, number 10, we have just a needle and thread so as to make small repairs in your sheath, your backpack, your gear. It's already threaded so as to not have to mess with that stuff, but a little bit of thread and a needle so as to make small repairs in your kit. Folks, that's been all for now. Remember to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell button so as to get the following videos. Take care, have a great day, see you on our next video.